Ladies and gents, my name is Xander, aka Diaside, and in this video, we're gonna go completely against the grain, especially when it comes to Destiny 2 PvP, and say that when you have no recovery and no intellect, then you got no problems. Just like the good old saying goes, no shirt, no shoes, no problem, you're probably sipping a pina colada on the beach and enjoying that oh so wonderful sun. But when it comes to relating that concept to Destiny 2 PvP, you're probably thinking, Xander, what the heck are you on, bro? Give me some of those sour Skittles as I want that sugar high too. Yes, I know that many of you are going to disagree, but just hear me out, because what you're seeing this very second is some gameplay of myself getting a 52 bomb. Yes, I said 52 defeats in one game, and I have absolutely zero recovery and almost no intellect. How is this possible? Well, let's find out. And so the only thing we have to do is just to simply sit back, relax, erase the notification button, enjoy some completely unedited game footage, and let's jump right into the video. Now, I got a hunch that many of you are probably thinking, okay, well, if you're not using recovery and you're not using intellect, then what are you going for? And to you I say that's a fantastic question, because I always run 100 mobility and 100 resilience. With 100 mobility, I'm going to have an incredibly high strafe speed, and that's then going to allow me to evade more bullets. With 100 resilience, I'm also going to be able to take on more damage within that same gunfight and win not just more of my 1v1s, but potentially 1v2s and 1v3s. Now, most Guardians, they usually run around say 5 or 6 resilience, and that's then going to associate to 191 or 192 points of health. But for me, I once again run 10 resilience, and that's then going to correlate to 201 points of health. To be exact, that's going to be either a 7-point or a 9-point difference in resilience, and it can make a colossal amount of difference, not just for survivability against auto rifles, but for shotguns as well. Now, I'll come back to why this is the case in just a few seconds, but for right now, what I want to focus on and address your main concern as to why I'm not using recovery, because many of you know that recovery is going to allow you to get back into the gunfight more frequently, but the question that I ask you is, do you have enough time? If this was an ideal world, we'd go from one engagement to the next, potentially getting a 1v1 every single time. But as you know, I know, and we all know, that's never ever the case, and we barely ever get 1v1s, because most likely than not, we're getting shot from the side from this Guardian or that Guardian, and so in reality, it's always a 1v2, maybe a 2v2, potentially even a 1v3 or something else along those lines. Now, there's a reason why I'm showing you this game footage, and by now you've probably already noticed that I'm running a specific combo to compensate for this severe lack in recovery, and I'm using number 1, the Worm Husk, number 2, the Crimson, and number 3, the top skill tree arc staff that's then going to allow me to regen my health as soon as I melee somebody. In essence, I have 3 separate ways that I can regen my health, almost as I so choose. 1 via my dodge, and of course using the Worm Husk to associate that health regen, 2 gain a kill with the Crimson, and 3 just simply gain a kill with the melee. I got a hunch that some of you are saying, but Xander, I'm not a hunter, I'm a Titan and I'm a Warlock. And to you I say, that's fantastic news as well, because if you want to, you can be a Titan or a Warlock and do this exact same principles with the exact same effects. And let me give you an example of this. Titans have this wonderful exotic called the One-Eye Mask, and what does that do? It's going to give you an overshield as soon as you defeat an enemy. Essentially, this is a form of recovery, because the overshield is going to give you a massive health bump instantaneously, and the exact same thing can also be done on different types of subclasses for the Titan, specifically the Sentinel Titan, because as soon as you happen to get that one melee kill, I know for a fact that there's a subclass that can give you that overshield with that melee kill, and so you can double dip in this exact same manner. If I'm not mistaken, I also think that you're actually able to regen your health with that melee, but don't quote me on that, I haven't played Titan in forever, so that might be a little bit off. Warlocks, you can do this exact same thing if you so choose, and the way in which you do so is by using the Voidwalker subclass and then choosing the Devourer subclass. Essentially what you're doing is you're then consuming your grenade. You're then going to be able to regen your health instantaneously as soon as you happen to get a kill, and it can actually refresh every X amount of seconds. In other words, as long as you're getting kills within that time frame, you're then going to regen your health every single time. And when you combine this with Blink, as well as the Astrocyte versus Exotic Helmet, oh my goodness gracious, not only are you going to be exceptionally evasive, but you can be able to regen that health whenever that you so choose as long as you're getting those kills. Now, just like the Hunter build that I'm using, as well as the Titan build that I suggested from before, you Warlocks can also use the Crimson, but if you want to, regardless of whether or not you're a Titan, Hunter, or a Warlock, you can also use the Rat King, as the Rat King's then going to give you instantaneous health regen as well as invisibility upon downing a Guardian and then reloading the weapon. And having said all this, let me pose you this question. Is there a single exotic weapon a single exotic armor piece, or a subclass perk in general that can compensate for resilience? The answer is no, capital N and capital O. Period, end of story. If there was, that would be amazing and I'd be the first person to jump on that train ASAP because I want to try that out right freaking now. I love to go ahead and have some high recovery builds with some other types of weapons or perks that are then going to increase my resilience, but unfortunately that isn't the case in the game right now. And having proved that point, there's two more things that I want to talk about, especially for resilience and why I run resilience in correlation with shotguns and auto rifles. Now I've covered this in past videos and I'll link those in the top right hand corner of your screen if you want to see this more in detail. But as far as aggressive frame shotguns go, all spread shotguns in this game currently fire 12 pellets. For aggressive frame specifically, they do anywhere between 22 points of damage and 21 points of damage, which is then going to associate to having a maximum resilience of 9 or a minimum resilience of 3 to be able to survive those shotguns with exactly 9 pellets. However, with 10 resilience, what happens? Your base health then goes up to 201 points of damage, and that then forces these aggressive frame shotguns to land at least 10 pellets into you, and that's exceptionally difficult to do so because what do all shotgun pellets rely on? RNG. No matter what kind of shotgun that you're using, at least when it comes to spread shotguns, their pellet spreads are always RNG based, and they can be very consistent or they can be inconsistent and you really never ever know. So whenever you're able to increase the odds of having these pellet spreads actually increase the number of pellets to still down somebody, go for that 110% of the time. I can't tell you how many times I've survived shotgun battles just simply because I have higher resilience than enemy guardians, even though they land pellets and I land pellets at the exact same time. I survived that engagement because I have more health, just that simple. Taking everything that I've just said into account, this is also true for precision frame shotguns. And to be more exact, these things are then doing a maximum of 20 points of damage per pellet, all the way down to a minimum of 19 points of damage. These things can still down a guardian if you happen to have 4 resilience all the way up to 9.67 resilience. Now I know that's not ideal as you can't exactly have 9.67 resilience, but what I want you to take away from this is that you're still going to need 10 pellets to still down a guardian even at 9 resilience. Despite that, what happens when you happen to have 10 resilience, aka 201 points of health? You guessed it, these precision frame shotguns then require 11 pellets to actually down somebody, and once again, 10 resilience is going to make your guardian that much more difficult to down because you have more health, surviving more pellets, and more pellets then relate to more RNG, and more inconsistency is exactly what you want to have. Just so that we're all on the exact same page, everything that I've just said in regards to these aggressive frame shotguns and precision frame shotguns is right there on screen. And so if you want to, by all means, take a screenshot of this because I'm telling you, it can be a little bit confusing to remember it all, but hey, who doesn't want a nice little flashcard? I'll take that all day long. What I also want to cover very briefly is that this exact same concept is also true for auto rifles, more specifically the 600 RPM auto rifles. Let's take a look at the Summoner. The Summoner is an absolute beast right now and it's dominant in PvP all across the board. And the reason why this is so is because its TTK is excellent at 0.7 seconds. Now I'll be honest, for a Guardian at say 6 resilience in contrast to 10 resilience, there really isn't going to be that big of a difference in terms of their TTK values, but what is going to be different is that one's going to be able to survive more bullets via more crits and more bodies, whereas the other one's going to take more crits to actually down that Guardian at the exact same resilience. However, where the real big difference comes into play is when you happen to have damage buffing perks on these auto rifles like Rampage or Kill Clip. Again, taking a look at the Summoner, you're going to see that right there on screen. When I happen to have Rampage ×1 on the right at 10 resilience, I'm still going to have that 0.7 second optimal TTK, but for a Guardian at 6 resilience on the left, it's going to go down to 0.6 seconds for an optimal TTK. Why is this? More survivability, as not only does the 10 resilience Guardian on the right take 1 more bullet, but they can actually survive more overall bodies and crits combined, whereas the Guardian with 6 resilience on the left still requires 7 crits to down somebody and it can be that much faster. Again, I've gone over these things much more in depth in different videos, so if you want to check those out, then by all means be my guest. But the very last point that I want to make is why I don't happen to run almost any Intellect. On average, my typical build has an Intellect anywhere between something like say 3 and 5, and to many Guardians, that may not be enough, as you probably want to have 7, 8, 9, and potentially 10 Intellects. If you can do so, awesome, but in my case, I choose not to do so because of one very simple thing: I'm going to get the kills. If I'm able to take out and survive more 1v1, 1v2, 1v3, and potentially 1v4 engagements with my high mobility and my high resilience, at the same time controlling when to increase my recovery, why the heck will I even bother with Intellect? Because that then means I'm going to absolutely eradicate, decimate, and obliterate every guardian in my path all the time, so much to the point that my power level is going to be over 9,000. I can't tell you how many times I dropped a Spirit Bomb, aka a 50 bomb on these guardians, because of this exact same mentality and the builds in which I'm describing to you. Even in the most competitive game modes in this entire game, for example the competitive playlist, aka survival, even something like say elimination, and of course trials, I'm ranked in the top 1% of every single one of those playlists according to DestinyTracker.com. Now I say this only because I want you to realize that I go completely against the grain and don't use recovery, nor do I use intellect. I still face off against all those top tier players just the same way that I currently do now, with having high mobility, high resilience, and controlling my recovery via my exotic weapons, my exotic perks, or my perks in the subclass. Now I won't act like this is the end-all be-all combination to run, but I'm certainly going to say give it a try, because at the end of the day, I definitely made enemy guardians a little bit salty. So much to the point that I lost count as to how many times that's happened. And so by all means, I want you to try it out for yourself and give it a go. Enjoy having high mobility and high resilience, and by all means, let me know how it goes down in the comment section below, as you always know that I'm going to respect your opinions, and I can't wait to see exactly what you guys gotta say. Lastly, the only thing left to do is just to simply go ahead and share this video, as that is one of the best ways in which you can support the channel, and I thank you tremendously. That's pretty much all I've got for you as of right now, DS Slayers, and as always, GG TNT.